Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 word and to the race reaction for the 2022 Monaco Grand Prix. Do you know, I was all ready to sit here or stand here today for reasons you'll find out in just a moment. I was all ready to stand here and get all leery about how terrible that race was and how processional it was, but oh my God. Wow. How do you feel about that one? Chat, are you happy? Good to see you all this evening once again. Sorry we're a bit late, but you know, the race ran a bit later than usual, so if you are watching the Indy 500, please try and avoid spoilers because we're watching it later. I'm also joined today, quite literally joined today, by the one and only Jonty. Good afternoon, Jonty, or good evening, Jonty. How are you? Did you enjoy that one? I'd imagine, well, I know for a fact you did.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, it's very weird actually being here for a change. Look, I can even slap you. But I'm not going to do that. No, we're going to watch Indy later. It's awesome. It's the first time we've ever watched a Formula One race together. 5 years. I think it's been too long waiting.
It's been way too long, and that slap really hurt, actually, to be fair. So, yes, so we're using the same mic, so you'll probably hear us having to step aside a little bit, and after you, Jonty, your turn. Shall we have a look, before we roll on any further, at the race result for today's Grand Prix? And you can hear them stalling, because you know what I'm bloody like. I forgot something. Result for today. Sergio Perez, Monaco Grand Prix winner Sergio Perez, finishing 1.1 seconds clear of Carlos Sainz. How close do you want it? 1.4. Further back is Max Verstappen, or 1.4 off the lead is Max Verstappen in third. Charles Leclerc, an angry Charles Leclerc, 3 seconds off the lead in fourth place. George Russell fifth. I mean, obviously. Lando Norris, sixth place for him, and fastest lap as well. Very good. We'll talk about Norris a bit, but wow. How he closed that gap down. So much on George Russell. Fernando Alonso 7th, Lewis Hamilton in 8th place, and Valtteri Bottas in 9th. It was Sebastian Vettel taking the final point for Aston Martin, thanks to Esteban Ocon's penalty. Pierre Gasly 11th place. Considering where he started, not a bad result, actually. Esteban Ocon 12th. Got that penalty, of course. 5-second penalty for the contact with Hamilton. 13th for Ricciardo. Yeah, 14th for Lance Stroll, 15th for Nicholas Latifi, who had a couple of offs. Zhou Guanyu, 16th. Yuki Tsunoda in 17th. Enjoyed going straight on at turn 1. Albon and Schumacher and Magnussen all out of the race. Michael Schumacher. Mick Schumacher, absolutely fine, by the way. Absolutely horrible crash for him, but all okay in the end. Where do you want to start, Jonty? I mean, we could start at the start that wasn't a start. It is probably a good place to go if you wanted to go from there. But I know we were frustrated watching that. I know a lot of people on Twitter were, and people in chat will be frustrated too, because I feel like there should have been a standing start right away. I understand now that apparently there was some issues with start lights. But, you know, if we're not be racing in the wet, is there any point in these wet tyres anymore? I guess is my moany, bitchy start to the stream.
Well, it's a fair point. I mean, if they're going to have the wet tyres, they've got to use them. And the start of the race was fine. There was nothing there. The track was fine. So why didn't they just get going? If there was actually issues with the lights, then fair enough. Then, you know, that's fine. But it was just such a mess. And it's been going like that all weekend. I don't know if there's been something going on. Both of the F2 races were delayed. And there was a lot of slow, messy dealing with incidents, which is very, very strange for Monaco. And do you think possibly we're reacting, you know, now that I've calmed down a bit because I was getting very angry, do you think possibly we've been reacting a bit stronger now I think about it because it's Monaco? Monaco are the best at dealing with all kinds of incidents. They have been for decades. And we're just not used to seeing a bit of a mess happening at Monaco. You know, when someone goes off, they deal with it instantly. Or has there really been a problem?
That's fair. That's an interesting point because I think, well, first of all, I think I just moan way too much. It's probably part of it, if I'm being honest. But I think that the thing with Monaco is that we know that the race is going to be 9 times out of 10 really processional, if you get what I mean. I'm not going to say boring, because I always find something to enjoy in an F1 race, but it's always going to be a bit processional. So when you see that rain, you think, come on, just give us something that's going to be a bit chaotic. Give us some action, even if it is somebody stuffing it into the barrier in turn 1. That's part of racing. But I think I'll reserve, maybe there'll be a statement from the FIA over it, I don't know, but I kind of reserve judgment a little bit now that I know there may have been an issue. It's just, now you've thrown me now. Now you've said about the F2, maybe there's been an issue all weekend. Maybe it has been a problem. Maybe it's something they're going to have to look at. Could it be a Monaco-specific problem? Was the weather, were the clouds coming in causing problems with transmissions or whatever you want to say? Because the TV direction with all their replays was pretty crap in the F2. So I don't know. It's really weird. Really, really weird. But I was really frustrated because I know these drivers, we talk about F1 being the pinnacle of motorsport, the best drivers in the world, and then we're sort of going, yeah, but there's a cloud over there that might drop some water and the track's a bit damp and we've not had any wet running. Yeah, but these are the best drivers in the world. It doesn't matter if they've had some weekends you can have no wet running and we just go racing. And I think, yes, Monaco's a bit more jeopardy, but I just think that you could have raced. The problem is, what happened then was it kept raining. And because it kept raining, the track got wetter. The cars weren't circulating. They weren't clearing the water. So the track was just getting wetter and wetter. And then we ended up with a red flag anyway. A red flag which we agreed was absolutely the right call, but we could have had 15 minutes of action prior to that. And that's my frustration with it. But, you know, as someone would say on Twitter, I'm an armchair expert. So, you know, my opinion's invalid, but it's all right sat there. To be fair, it is all right sat there in an armchair going, oh, go on, you wimps, go racing. But it's not us putting our neck on the line, is it, at a racetrack? Then again, what's the average speed at Monaco? 12?
It's a little bit more than 12, but yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, we are just observing from our homes. However, it was fine. For those first 20 minutes, it was absolutely fine, and then the rain really did get absurd. That was Spa levels of rain, and absolutely was red flag scenario. But look at how interesting and mixed up the grid could have been in that short time. And also it would have had the race clock started so that we do get that red flag period during the race clock as opposed to before, so it hasn't started. And then afterwards, when we had got going, we wouldn't have had the extended dry period at the end where it's a bit processional. We still would have had the tricky scenarios and who's going to make the call and when. Although the red flag for Schumacher does possibly throw that potential out of the window a bit. Although, would that have happened? I don't know, and I still don't understand what happened to his car there anyway.
No, yeah, we'll get to Schumacher in a bit, of course, and yeah, you know, like I say, it's easy to sit here. Someone will point it out, I'm sure, in the comments or the chat, but it's easy to stand here saying that and act like we know better. But there are just certain times when you think you've just got to go for it, and I think that race could have started. We would have ended up with a red flag anyway. And I think it was the weather watching that bugged me. The fact that apparently the stewards were also keeping an eye on radars, and there was a weather, because they say about the start lights later in the race, but then at the start their statement was we were observing some weather. So that doesn't add up for starters, ironically. But yeah, and then we come round, it's not even a standing start. And I think people were frustrated, but at the end of the day, it was still a flipping brilliant race. And I said to you when we were sat on the sofa, I was like, hang on a minute. Have we just had a great Monaco Grand Prix and a great Spanish Grand Prix in the same season? What is this world? What is this season? So we'll talk about Sergio Perez, and we've got to start with him because I think one of his better drivers. I mean, I'm always singing Checo's praises. That's one of my problems. But I think a really, really good drive from Checo. Good strategy play. Kept himself in it around the pit stop. Some great outlaps and inlaps. I think Sainz apparently saying afterwards he might have caught some traffic, which could have cost him some time in the undercut and all of that, and with the undercut and things like that. So that's probably played into it. But drove really nicely to get himself into that position. And then he cooked his tyres. I mean, that massive lock-up down to Mirabeau, you think, well, he's knackered them. He's going to have to pit. And he doesn't. He keeps going, looks after them. Huge amounts of graining all over those front tyres. Does a great job to hold them at bay. I know it's hard to overtake at Monaco, but you've still got to put your car in the right place. You can't just be like, well, you're not going to get past me. You've got to try it. You got to put the car in the right place. And he did all of that. Absolutely nailed it. Kept them at bay and took the win. And he's forever going to be Sergio Perez, Monaco Grand Prix winner, whatever he does for the rest of his career. So I'm so happy for him. He looks so happy and emotional on that podium as well, which is good to see. And is he, I think I caught Crofty saying now, the most successful Mexican driver of all time with that win. So that's a fantastic achievement for him today. And I think given what happened in Spain, I know there are a lot of differing opinions around the team orders, but given what happened in Spain, it's kind of perfect that it fell that way from this weekend, because now he can go, got it. That's my win. I've done it now. I've got Monaco. And I think you pointed out he's only about 15 points behind Max Verstappen in the championship or something like that, or somebody pointed that out. So it's a pretty damn 15 points. So it's a pretty damn solid season so far. And he's kind of, if you think back to last year, he was struggling a little bit, wasn't he? But then this year he's coming and I think he's smashing it.
Yeah, he is. And with that points gap, I mean, it only takes one DNF for Verstappen and a third place is put in Checo level. And it would only, say, for example, at Baku, both Verstappen and Leclerc DNF, Perez would only need 7th or 6th to be second in the championship. I mean, that's ridiculous. We didn't think he'd be that far ahead. And did anyone think that Red Bull was actually going to let him do that today? I do feel very much like Checo just analysed the situation himself and just went, hang on a minute, I've got some real pace here. And the strategy's not great for other people. If I just put my foot down for a few laps, I can really make a difference here. And then when he came out on the Inters, the speed that he had was blistering. I mean, I think not his out lap, but the first flying lap on those tyres, he took the fastest lap down by 6 seconds or something ridiculous, and then another 3 and another 2. He made that win his. He saw the opportunity to really pull out some time and did it regardless of what they were telling him on the radio. I'm sure they would have been saying, don't push them too hard, these have got to last, we don't know how the weather's going to go. And he just thought, no, I can make it mine. And also, you mentioned about the flat spot. Was that a case of a vengeance pigeon?
I was going to bring that up then.
Because he did hit a pigeon in FP3. I mean, I wonder if was that the pigeon's partner trying to get him again?
Maybe.
Trying to take him out? Because that was weird. And I haven't seen any replays at all or any images of that. And I swear to God, that was a pigeon. And other people saw it, but I'm still going to be questioning my own eyes until there's a bleeding replay.
Something got him. Something threw him, didn't it? And he got that lock-up. I know pressure as well. So we'll see. I might go look for a replay later, maybe in the highlights, if there's any highlights of it. Surely they'll show the lock-up, you'd have thought. Although a lot in that race to get through. But fantastic for him. And actually, Thomas in chat saying, would only be 8 points were it not for the Spain incident behind Verstappen. Oh, Thomas. Thank you very much for your super chats. By the way, before we roll on, thank you to Charles Edward Cheese, the man himself, with another $500 donation. Thank you so much for your support, Charles. Massively appreciated. No message today, so I'll just give you a thumbs up that you can't see, and a weird face. Why not? There you go. So thank you once again, Charles. Always appreciate it, mate. And thank you to Stein as well for your super chat. Says asked this before in a stream years ago. But amid all the criticism and contract talks, ask again, which is more iconic in your opinion for F1, Monaco or Ferrari? We'll maybe do that a little bit later, Stein. That's a really interesting one to ponder. Really appreciate that. Thank you for your super chats. Where do we get to on Checo? I've got notes, but really it's just lock up and drove really well to keep people at bay. But I don't think... Because you said there about him sort of getting his foot down and getting on with it. I said to you when we were watching it, what Leclerc needs to do here maybe is just... manage the pace. This is pre-race before it rains, so manage the pace a little bit. Keep those behind him at a slower pace, a bit like Alonso did, maybe not to that extreme, but back people up so that your Red Bulls can't pit without falling into traffic. And then when they do pit, that's when you've looked after your tyres, that's when you smash your laps in. And maybe there's an element of that with Checo. He's not going to be able to make the move, so he might as well just sit there and let things play out, and then when he needs to put the lap in, just boom, and deliver that lap. So maybe that's what he's done. But I'm so impressed with Checo at the minute. I think he's had a great season so far. I think I said in the preview that I'll be, 4 of the last 5 races on the podium. So he's really got on a hell of a roll now. So he's settled in quite nicely. The car probably suits him a bit better than last year. Last year he came into Red Bull, a year of evolution, a car very much geared towards Max because it's his first season. They're not going to build it around Checo, and then they go into that one and comes into this season, he's got more control. So really, really happy for Checo. And again, it's, for all the criticism it gets, the Monaco Grand Prix is still a badge for drivers. Somebody said to me the other day, the drivers hate it. The drivers do not hate Monaco. They love racing around Monaco. You just can't, race. I suppose is the problem with Monaco. You can't do much overtaking. Cynic Lynx says, was deaf a bird? So it wasn't just you, Jonty. There was definitely a bird there for sure. And I'm not going to read that one, Findlay. I'm definitely not reading that one. Thank you to Rixes as well, who says Dishasta. Absolutely. Thank you for your super chat. We'll get to Haas a little bit later. Carlos Sainz. they seem really flat, actually, I thought after the race. I think he thinks that's one that got away from him because he called the strategy for Ferrari, really, and it was the right strategy to say, I want to stay on these wets. Let's go straight to dries. He then comes in and goes straight to dries, but Ferrari had already pitted Leclerc. So Sainz had, for me, he had the shot at winning that race. And I think he knows that apparently a little bit of traffic on his outlet, which has probably contributed to that. But I think he looks like a man that feels that's one that got away. A little bit.
Well, not just him. It got away from both Ferrari drivers, probably because of not reacting. He'd made that call, but it was very close around the time that Perez had made his stop. You know, he fair play to him for making the strategy call himself that he wants to go to dries. But Ferrari should have been looking at the times, looking at all the data and going, hang on a minute, Checo's eating out a massive, huge lead here. He's just stealing time from the Ferraris. They've got to react. I know it's 29 years ago at Senna won at Donington, but his quote from that, you've got to be on the right tyres at the right time, no matter how many stops it takes, it's still true. Because not reacting to Red Bull cost them the win. I firmly believe that. They just lost so much time with faffing around of, oh, are we going to stop? No, we'll go a bit longer. You can do that on inters. You can't do it on the full wet. You just can't. The compound's all wrong. It just falls to bits. The inters will just wear out until it becomes a slick. The full wets will just crumble to pieces. And Ferrari, again, dropped the ball. And it's annoying because they've come out with the best-looking car of the season. They've got a fast car. They've got two superb drivers. This is their year to really pull it back and make it interesting. And they keep Ferrariing. And I don't like it.
That's got to be a word in the dictionary. Ferrariing, definitely. And there was a bit of faffing around a pit stop anyway, wasn't it, for Charles Leclerc? But this is what I don't understand. I'm not going to go in on Ferrari because I think we do it enough when it comes to strategy. But what I can't get my head around is this, the fact that Carlos says over the radio, you know, we want to go to straight to dries, which worked, and we saw 5 or 6 cars down the back of the field that went for it, so they had a reference point. They could have looked at that and gone, well, we'll just about get away with this. He said he wanted to do that. There was a bit of a conversation on the radio. But then Leclerc was pitted 1-2 laps maximum before Sainz to go onto the inters, and then pitted a couple of laps later at the same time as Sainz for hards. Red Bull had already pitted at that point. Why didn't Ferrari go, right, nothing we can do now. They've pitted. We just need to stay on these tyres till we go to dries. I know it's easy with hindsight, but that's kind of... Well, no, I say hindsight. We were screaming that watching it. What am I about hindsight? We were literally watching it go, why leave him out? You can't pit him now because Red Bull have got him, and that put Leclerc in 4th place, and he was pretty annoyed. But there was a lot of faffing over the radio as well. He was told to come in, then told to stay out, but he was already in the pit lane, and then he started shouting over the radio and when, I wouldn't say storming down the pit lane during the red flag, but had a wander into the garage and looked, well, pissed, quite frankly. He looked really fed up. So, and I can understand that frustration, but just a really weird strategy call. I don't get why they didn't just, again, easy with hindsight, I guess, but I don't know why they didn't just leave Leclerc out with Sainz and then double stack for the hards. I can't get my head around it.
Yeah, and not even just, you know, leaving out to make sure you've got the tyre life. This is still Monaco. It's still changeable conditions surface. You need to be making sure you're thinking about possible safety cars. And they just didn't keep themselves covered. They did not cover those safety car windows or the chance of one. So that when it finally did happen, they were like, oh, whoops.
Yeah. Nice double stack from Red Bull, got to be said as well. The Ferrari one I actually wrote in my notes. In fact, I'm going to read it. I initially wrote, nice double stack for Inters. And then just above that, I put nice, not so much double stack from Ferrari. It was all a little bit messy, but Red Bull got a nice double stack, which really helped them in jumping a Ferrari each. But Verstappen's a weird one for me. Normally, I've got, you know, a little bit to say about Verstappen and, you know, getting on at the team last week with the DRS, and then another week he'll make a great move or he'll drive brilliantly and you go, wow, that's incredible from Verstappen. Today, quite a quiet and, dare I say, quite a mature drive. And I still think winning that championship last year, don't start, chat. Winning that championship last year, he's done it now. So he goes into that race after such an intense fight last year and sees, look, I'm third, my teammate's leading, but my championship rival is behind me. I don't need to send a classic Max Verstappen dive bomb into the Nouvelle chicane like he did in Hamilton a few years ago, where they sort of touched a little bit towards the end. He doesn't need to do that. He's got his championship rival behind. Stay calm. To quote Martin Brundle, keep the car on the black stuff, bring it home, get those points in the bag. It's a few more points than Leclerc behind, and then on to the next one in Baku, where Red Bull could be quite strong again. So I think quite a mature drive from Max, but I've not got anything in my notes other than nice double stack, because there wasn't really anything to... You can praise him for his maturity and his good drive and, you know, getting those points on the board, but there's nothing really else that he did, if that makes sense. But that's often the case in Monaco with drivers, isn't it? It's about strategy in the team rather than that driver made that amazing move to win the race, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, it was quite a strange race for Max, because it seems like no matter what he did, he was going to end up fourth. I've only just thought about that, because Perez just, like we've said, just went, no, my tyres are great and they're going to last, so I've decided to go really quick. And then Ferrari did their thing. But all of it was ahead of Max. You know, Perez jumped so much in the pit stops. And Verstappen did make up a bit of time, but then Ferrari doing their thing, he just kind of, oh, well, I'm fourth regardless. So chill out. No, third. He finished third. What am I talking about?
Third, yeah.
But it was still largely out of his hands. All he had to do was make sure he didn't hit a wall, which is probably a very alien thing for Max. I mean, how often is he just cruising around with no one near him? If he's out in the lead, yeah, but when he's actually fighting for stuff, it's very rare that he's not seeing the action, so it's probably very odd for him. However, there is a Max incident in question about a certain pit line, which, if the letter of the law is being applied, is a penalty.
See, I should have read the regulation before we got into this, because Mattia Binotto, I was listening to him, I was setting the stream up, said, you know, we think there's been a clear breach by Red Bull of the regulations because at least Max Verstappen had a wheel on the yellow line on the pit exit. And Mattia Binotto seems to think that a wheel on the yellow line is a penalty because that's considered crossing. But my understanding of the rule was that it has to be a wheel fully over the line. So you could have sort of half a wheel on, half a wheel off. I might be I've not read the rules on it, so I'm not for sure. I can't know for sure, but I feel like with F1 it's always when either all four wheels or a wheel is fully across the line, if that makes sense. So I don't know if they've looked at it and gone, well, he's on the line, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, it's wet. But when it comes to safety, as I now look Jonty square in the eyes on this one, when it comes to safety, there should be no benefit of the doubt. It should be, well, that's a penalty or it isn't a penalty. There shouldn't be a grey area in that kind of thing. But I'm not sure what the rule is. On board, it looks like he crosses it completely. Off board, it doesn't look like he crosses it completely. So it's quite sort of, his left front definitely looks like it's completely off on the other side of the line. On board, but off board, it looks like he's still just about on it. So I don't know what the rule is on that. I can have a look while you're giving your thoughts on safety.
Well, it's not so much the safety, it's just the rule. And I'm now racking my brain. Probably should have gone and checked, but I'm sure that it was Schumacher that got done for it. And he just clipped the very end of the line. But it was cross, and I mean, when I say the end, I mean he was going diagonally across the line as he went over the terminus of the line, but still got done for it. I can't remember where. However, it's another one of those things. They've got to fully get this written down in the regs, because what does fully over mean? Does that mean the tyre fully on the line or fully past the line? Because over doesn't really define very much, because over can be from one side to the other, or it can be on top of. So they're nice and awkward. You know what they're like. Any tyre or all tyre?
Oh no! We're not going there. We're not going there. I'll have a look at the regulations. I don't know where it's going to be in here, but we'll see what we can find live on this one. But I'm not. I'll keep it on chat if you have a look as well, John, to see if anybody's said for sure what's going on here. But I'd imagine it's in pits somewhere. But you're right. I seem to recall it's been done before. But we had a similar conversation in Turkey, didn't we? About all of this and who did what. Where's the pits? Have they moved? Oh, there we go. 36. Oh, it's slow. Don't lag, PC. Please don't lag. Yeah, I don't. I can't really. I'm not sure. That's refueling. Look, I tell you what. I'll have a look in a minute, a proper look, because I'm not sold on it. But if the rule is that any part of that tyre touches that line, then it's a penalty all day long. But I'm concerned there might be some benefit of that. But I mean, the stewarding this season anyway has been somewhat questionable, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's been a change there. What you guys say? Anyone who crosses the line should get a penalty. It's there for safety, says Mickey. They've already been really inconsistent with it this year, aka Charlene Saudi. That's a good point. Actually, no, Charlene Saudi was crossing the entry, wasn't he? But again, this is what I'm saying. He was considered on the line, if you follow me, whereas he was never over the line, if that makes sense. But then again, it all depends on what we're talking about. So the section of track between the end of the pit lane and the safety car line will be designated the pit exit. You can't reverse down the pit lane. We know that one already. 80 kilometers an hour. With the exception of reconnaissance laps. No, that won't be that one. I love it. I love doing this live. It's always a pain in the backside trying to get through these regulations. Car must not be released from a garage or pit stop. Competitors must provide a means of clearly establishing blah, 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 blah. There's nothing. There must be somewhere. I must have missed it. I'll have a proper look in a bit. But yeah, we'll come back to that during Waffle and Q&A later. We'll get through the order first. If anyone knows for sure, if anyone can find that in the rules for me, exactly what it says, that'd be massively appreciated. And you'll get a big shout out. So I'm not going to sit here going for 20 minutes. But yeah, other than the question mark over the pit exit, Verstappen, I think today was a really, like I say, mature drive. A bit of a championship contenders thinking man's drive. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. But that's kind of where I see Max today with his performance. And I think that's what he's got to do. I mean, he's got to lead in the championship as long as he finishes in front of Leclerc between now and the end of the season in every race. It doesn't matter if it's 9th and 10th, does it? He's won the championship. So, well, unless we start getting to fastest lap points, then it might change. But that's essentially what he's got to do, which is, yeah. Actually, what's that? All the drivers must, just putting a wheel on the yellow line before turn one. It's all very, very silly on pit exit. We talk about Mercedes as well, by the way. Since we're doing the top three teams, George Russell, 5th place today. Lewis Hamilton in 8th place. George, I mean, what do you want me to say? He's 5th again. He's top 5 again. Every race this season, top 5. I got a lot of people saying to me, you're sleeping on George Russell this year, Sean. In testing, no, you're sleeping on him. Trust me, he will be a match for Hamilton. He's doing it again. He's 5th place with Lewis down in 8th. Hamilton backed up by Alonso for quite a bit. I saw some people saying maybe he could have got top 6 without Alonso backing it up, but he's still got to then overtake Alonso to stop the backing up and then pass Norris. So I'm not entirely sure that was doable because it's Monaco and it's not easy to overtake at Monaco. But I still think Russell was fantastic today, and in a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a race of his own, because he had a good gap to Norris for most of it. And he was, a good 5, 6, 7 seconds behind the leaders. But one mistake, or Checo really going off on his tyres, or getting caught in traffic, and Russell was right in that to maybe nick it off Charles Leclerc. Or he was just there. If anything went wrong, he was going to capitalise on that. And that's kind of what he's done all season, actually, to this point. It's the Russell effect.
Well, it's kind of turning into Russell's brand right now, isn't it? Just go quicker than his teammate and stay out of trouble. And that's pretty much all he's doing, because the Ferraris and the Red Bulls have got a significant gap to the rest of the field. So he's got this convenient little hole to just sit in and do his work. And it's going to pay him massive dividends come the end of the season, because he's just churning out these 5th places, a bit higher if he can manage it and something bad happens to the lead teams. And he's going to be right up there in the championship standings. It's going to look great for him. I mean, compared to what he's come from, where he had to scrape and scrabble and have a non-race for a podium with Williams, I'm sure he's very happy. Although the one thing he's definitely not happy about is his spine, because that was another. What did he say yesterday in the interview? He's just going to have to suck it up and take the pain of the porpoising all the way around this track, which that's bad, especially when he's as tall as he is. It's probably sort of exaggerating how much it hurts. But I mean, he's done everything right, nothing spectacular, but I know it's a boring way to say it, but he's literally just done his job today. Which he can be happy about it. I'm sure he would like more, but he could certainly have done a lot worse.
Third fastest car, and he was the third fastest leader, was he? He was the leader of the best of the rest group, so he can't do much. I think consistency is what I would say. He's just been consistent, and we saw he's got a couple of podiums because he's been able to capitalise with good strategy on safety cars and things, and that's what he has to do. So I've been really impressed with him this year, and I think, and I said to you when we were watching it, the way this is going, they were so close to top four. If those Red Bulls and Ferraris ran into each other and ended up all DNFing, I know kind of crazy talk, but if it happened, Russell's there for the win. Lewis Hamilton's up there in fourth place. They're right back in the constructors' hunt. Crazy as it sounds for all the problems they've got. And that's because I know Hamilton's had a few bad races, but even he's consistently picking up the points. So it's kind of, I wonder if we're going to look back at these, if they can get on top of the problems properly, because they did in Spain, but they didn't really this weekend. But if they get on top of them properly, are we going to look back at these first 7 races and go, that's where they won it? With the consistency, it's a big ask for them to win it. I still think this is all between Red Bull and Ferrari, but this championship's going to heat up between Verstappen and Leclerc if it carries on. It's going to heat up big time, and I'm sorry to say, Leclerc and Verstappen fans, they're going to come together. It's going to happen at some point, and that's when somebody else sneaks in and brings in a big result. So the more the merrier up there, to be honest.
Shock on the spot prediction. Since we know that it's going to happen, Leclerc and Verstappen are going to come together. What are the odds of it being a history repeat itself and it happens in the last lap at Austria?
Oh, Christ. This time ends in DNF for both. Double DNF. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? I'm just wondering, by the way, if that FIA regulation on the pit exit is what you said earlier, a technical one rather than a sporting one. Because it's not in the sporting race from what I can see with a kick skim. So if anybody's got it, we'll go over it later. If not, then we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, Mattia Binotto's asking for clarification. Not a lot will come from it, I wouldn't have thought. And nobody's really saying much on it in or on F1 Twitter in terms of journalists and that. So we'll see. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton, 8th place today. A little bit frustrated behind Fernando Alonso. It's the Monaco effect. You can't overtake at Monaco anyway. But these cars are heavier, wider, more difficult to drive in some ways. It was always going to be tough today. And Fernando Alonso was playing his game. He knows what Monaco is. And he sat there and was like, well, look, this is the speed I want to go at. You want to get past me, but I'm parking this in the middle of the track. You're not getting past me. So I did wonder if some team play there from Alpine, which we'll get onto in a bit, but I don't think it was in the end. It was just frustration for Hamilton and again, beaten by his teammate, which is just going to add to that frustration for him massively. So, but I don't want to take anything from George Russell today. He got it done in qualifying, got it done in the race, delivered for Mercedes, great points on the board. Hamilton still points, which is something. And actually, that's the question I'll put to you, actually.
He got shafted in quali as well.
He did. He got shafted in quali, but I will throw this to you on Mercedes, actually. Are they better as a team focusing on trying to make it 9 constructors in a row rather than worrying about potentially Russell going for an outside shot at the drivers or Hamilton getting back into it? Are they better just getting their heads together, working out what's wrong with this car, obviously, is a priority, but then just keep plugging away at these consistent points, and when those top 2 teams start tripping over each other, sneak in and we all go, how the hell did they win number 9? It'd be good. It'd be a hell of a turnaround.
They need to do that. Whether they can do that, I think it's just already too much to make up. It's possible. It's definitely possible. And if there is as much speed in the car as Toto and people insist is in the car and they just haven't unlocked it yet, maybe. But that's still a massive ask. What were they? Over 100 points down now? Or something insane? I can't remember.
No, it's just over 100, 101, I think.
101?
Yeah.
I mean, that's 4 race wins, not counting for what other people score. That's a hell of a big ask. Even at this early stage, that's a hell of a lot. And looking at what we've got coming up, because they're still the team that's been suffering worse with porpoising, next race, Azerbaijan. 2 kilometres flat out. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see, potential suspension failures, because it's going to be battering that car. It's not just for a short time either. It's going to be that constant all the way down. You're going to be looking at a full 10 to 15 seconds of non-stop, constant, worst porpoising they've ever had. So, yikes.
Yeah, if Russell thought his spine was hurting before that, it's going to sting after Baku. That's going to be a great weekend. I've got a good feeling about Baku. Plus, it's the weekend to pick up my puppy. Also, Stoffel Van Dorn. There you go. Squeezed them both in the stream already. Another super chat. Thank you very much to Phil B. Says Leclerc and Verstappen will stop being friends when that happens. Were they friends?
Yeah.
Are they? They kind of had a little... when they were younger, it was just an incident. That was a bit Dutch. That wasn't even slightly Dutch. Thank you very much, Phil, for your contribution. Also to DRD Nobody. Says, I like Danny Rick. We all do, but it's just not happening. If McLaren are serious, they go in for a proven F1 driver with a point to prove. Pierre Gasly, you and me, DTD. Williams or McLaren should be going straight after Gasly at the end of this year, because I think if his AlphaTauri contract isn't up this year, it's the end of next year, and he ain't getting in that Red Bull with Perez performing like this. So... we'll do some driver speculation later, I promise. Let's keep rolling through the order. Thank you for your super chats. Also, I completely forgot. Charles Overcheese didn't leave a message, but it's a kind of... we should know the message by now. $500. Let's try and get the stream to 500 likes. 1,300 watching, 168 likes. Smack a like. Let's get it to 500 for Charles and 1 for me and Jonty. We can share it. Check out and Max summon to the stewards. Thank you, Michael Fearman. Is it Fearman? I would say Fearman. I'm going with Fearman. You can tell if I'm wrong, mate. No problems at all. Let's see what Meadows is. Meadows.
Oh, yeah. I've got it.
Go on, then.
Yeah, official FIA stewards document. In relation to the 2 protests lodged by Scuderia Ferrari against Car 1 and Car 11 for allegedly failing to stay to the right of the yellow pit line at pit exit. Oh dear. If he's right, I don't know what the penalty is. I don't know if it's a time penalty, if it's a drive-through, stop and go, or what. Because it depends how it falls on whether it's sporting or technical, because certain things carry a set penalty, and I don't know which is which. I should.
The precedent generally seems to be that post-race, if you've deemed to have broken the rules, you seem to get a heavier penalty than if you'd done it. Like in the race, they might go, that's a 5-second time penalty. But sometimes we get into a situation where they say, well, that's 20 seconds in lieu of a drive-through or something like that. So if they go drive-through penalty, Checo and Verstappen are falling behind Sainz, Leclerc, Russell and Norris, which puts them 5th and 6th, which promotes Russell to the podium and Norris up into 4th place. So they are 100% under investigation, which, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Well, it's a protest from Ferrari, which is interesting.
But just looking at the numbers, even with a minimum penalty, I'm sure it ends up with a 1-2 for Ferrari, looking at the times.
Yeah, it would be a 1-2.
Or, oh no, it might be close, because Leclerc's 2.9 behind. Ooh, I don't know.
We'll see. Leclerc's only 2.9 off the lead. So that's off the lead on the timing screens.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so he would move up into second. So we'll see. The stewards might not do anything. They might say, look, we had a little look in the race and it was all absolutely fine. We were happy with that. We're not going to go any further. But Ferrari, I suppose they're right to ask the question. They're right to ask the question because they've seen something they don't agree with. So we'll keep an eye on it, see if anything happens. I imagine it'll take a while, but we'll get back to where we'll go to Lando Norris next. I've got one thing I want to say about Lando Norris. What a final few laps for Lando Norris. I think at one point, unless there was a pit stop for George Russell I missed, he went from about 30 seconds behind Russell to within around 2.5 tenths off him, 0.263. Right at the end of that, he another lap and he's got a shot at throwing out the inside and a nice fresh set of tyres. Fastest lap as well. He's been in a car that they've struggled with this year. He's done a fantastic job, but I'm gonna sorry, Annette, if you're listening, you're going to hate me for what I'm going to say. I can't work out, is it that Norris is just that good and he's getting the best out of the car and he's doing an amazing job? Or is it just that Daniel Ricciardo's struggling that much that it makes him look even more impressive? If that makes, do you see what I look at Norris and go, that's really impressive, but is it really impressive because Ricciardo's down in 13th place and struggling? If that makes sense, or is it just impressive because Lando's just been impressive in that car? It was. I mean, we were worried after Bahrain, weren't we? We thought it was a shitbox. We thought they were in trouble, and he's had a podium, another great result today. He's absolutely destroying Daniel Ricciardo. I think Daniel Ricciardo, it's 6-1 in qualifying, something like that. So it's not even close there. There's nothing between. There's massive gap between them again today. Is Norris overperforming, or is Daniel Ricciardo significantly underperforming? I think I know the answer to that before I even say it.
Well, it's good that you mentioned the car, because I think if you look at how the car's been, it's still not perfect. It's still not great. It still has some issues. You can certainly see it in qualifying. There'll be some issues. I mean, Lando was getting a few little bits of snappy understeer yesterday in quali. So I think it's both. Lando's out driving the car, and I think Danny Rick's under driving the car. So it really amplifies how big the gap between them looks, when it's actually not as big as it really is when you take the car into account. But it still doesn't paint Danny Rick in a very good light. It really doesn't. It's such a shame, because everyone likes him for a reason. He is one of the most likable guys on the grid. And I don't want to be, crapping on him or anything, but it does feel a hell of a lot like he's being exposed. And I don't like that, because I want him to do well. We all do. But it really does feel like he's benefited from a significantly good car during his time at Red Bull, and everywhere he's gone since, it's a bad car and he can't deal with it.
Cited Canvas, Clay. I really like the name Clay. I just random one there. I just like the name Clay. Flaesky? Eki? Yeah. Says both. A few of you basically say, Marie says as well, saying, both. Warden says, why can't it be both? Absolutely, it could be both. Maybe Norris is just doing everything he has to do and more, and Daniel Ricciardo isn't delivering. So it probably is both. So you're probably absolutely right in chat. Thank you as well to Pascal for your super chats. This is a great season so far. I'm very happy with Valtteri and Alfa Romeo Sauber so far. Points out of 6 of the 7 races. Oh, you caught me on a stat. That got me. I am very happy at the moment. Thank you very much, mate, for your super chat. Always appreciated. So maybe a bit of both on Ricciardo and Norris. But Norris is definitely... So you said outdrove the car. And I know what the expression means, but I'll come in and say it for anybody jumps on you. Can't outdrive the car. He's getting absolutely everything out of it. It's the same thing, isn't it? But you know what some people are like. They like to be pedantic. But I think I've got nothing on Ricciardo today. He kind of got caught in that gaggle, didn't he? In that midfield that kind of all ended up together. He got stuck up behind Alonso on the Fernando Express. Never really went anywhere. Where did he start today? I did write it down. 14th, ended up 13th. I mean, it's kind of a nothing race for him in the end. And I feel... I think we'll do a video or a stream at some point about Ricciardo. I think there needs to be a conversation about him, definitely. Stein, thank you very much. Says, Perez told Horner on the way to the podium, I probably signed too early. Contract confirmed. ? Ooh, Stein. What do you know, mate? Tell us. Thank you very much. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they'd be mad not to keep him, but we'll come back to Red Bull and that later. I've had a quick word on McLaren. Sorry to any McLaren fans again, if I've not said too much, but really, Norris, I will read his radio message or sort of paraphrase it a bit, kind of said, what do you want me to do? I want to push, or do you want me to just sit here and essentially do nothing? Because he was completely on his own. So making that stop made sense. Managed to get a point for fastest lap, which could be critical in a tight fight, that point for fastest lap. So pretty solid from him there. Good lap as well, actually. Really closed that gap down to Russell. Had a great race. Not much else on that one. I totally get what he's saying, by the way. He sat there at the Monaco Grand Prix. You can't overtake. And he's like, can I push? I want to push, because what do you want me to do? Just sit here. And it's Lando. These young drivers just want to drive, don't they? They want to have a lot of fun. So... yeah, I had nothing much on McLaren, but I think they drove really, really well today with Norris, not so much with Ricciardo.
Yeah, but I've just seen in chat, Nino, I want that to happen. That would be fantastic. Rick goes to Indy and Zach brings Pato to F1 in that seat. Just a straight seat swap between Arrow and McLaren. Oh, I think everyone would love that.
That's a name that keeps getting thrown around, isn't it, Pato? To the point,
amazing.
Yeah, but it's to the point where, when you hear rumours in F1 all the time and you go, oh, right. This one keeps cropping up to the point where you think there's got to be some truth in this somewhere, that they want to give him a shot. Colton Hurst is another one that keeps getting mentioned a lot, and I think...
I was just going to say that.
Do you know what we could do with? We could do with an 11th team. We could do with an 11th team, maybe owned by an American racing brand that's world renowned. You could call it something like Andretti, something like that, and then he could bring in Colton Herta. It would be brilliant. An American driver in an American team for a company that's so desperate to push the market in America. That'd be fantastic. Wow. Anyway, enough sarcasm for now. Fernando Alonso kind of touched on it, kind of set up the Fernando Alonso Express today. What you'd expect from an experienced driver in Monaco today from Fernando, to be honest. I said it, didn't I? He knows what he's doing. Park that car where he needs to park it. You ain't getting through. I'll drive at my pace. I'll look after my tyres. We're not going to catch the guys ahead. Let's just bring this home for the points. And that's exactly what he did. And that's no great surprise from Fernando Alonso. As for Esteban Ocon, great defensive driving for the most part against Lewis Hamilton. And then the incident at turn 1, which we both grimaced at as he turns in and cuts off Hamilton. And you're just going, oh, Esteban. I'm not a racing driver. I'm stood here, unhealthy as hell, talking about Formula One as a fan, and I'm going to go, all he needs to do is just give him the space. Hamilton's not going to come up the inside on the run to Casino Square, is he? Not through Massenet, really, in the wet, offline. It's too much of a risk. So just take the momentum into the corner and just fight him for that. Why is he coming right in on him on the apex? And that 5-second penalty, completely justified as far as I'm concerned for Ocon.
Yeah, it was. And it's funny you say that. We've got all of the awesome defensive driving, but the chop was pretty much the first thing we saw. All of the awesome defensive driving came after that, which was really weird. And it was a definite chop. He slammed the door on him very, very aggressively. Did he misjudge it because, I don't know, possibly mirrors not working very much, fogged up visor, I don't know, something. I'm sure he'll come up with some idea. Or possibly say that Lewis hit him on that Lewis dived in and hit him. They all say the same things all the time. But he did chop him. It was a fair penalty. Which is a shame because afterwards, like you said, the defensive driving was perfect. He got his car in exactly the right place at every single corner. So there was nothing that anyone could do about it. It was like Hungary last year.
Opposite with Alonso, yeah.
Yeah. Alonso and Vettel?
Yeah.
God,
Hamilton.
It's been a long day. It's just incredible. I like to see that. I like to see the really good defensive stuff. It wasn't quite Senna Mansell, but it was pretty close. Can we have more of that?
At every track. No, the thing is with Monaco, it's about... If you've got a car that's not as quick as the car behind, it's just about putting your car where it needs to be. And at the end of the day, if you park the car in the middle of the track at Monaco, no one's getting past. No. And that's what he was doing. There was some moves that were quite late. But I think the penalty for me... apparently Ocon put Hamilton into the wall unseen on TV, according to Mechanicus. So thank you very much. I wonder if there's any of that might have been part of the reason. Strike 2 sort of thing. I know 3 strikes and you're out, but FIA stewards, they're weird. I just wonder if the damage to the front wing is what did it. If there's a wheel-to-wheel contact at that corner, they might say, don't do that again, black and white flag. Well, that was more of a Massey thing, wasn't it? The black and white flag rather than these ones. But with the front wing damage, he's damaged an opponent. It's a chop. It's definitely a chop. And he's defending his position. Of course, he's going to chop. But you got to leave a space. Yeah. I nearly did it. I nearly did the accent and the quote, but I'm not going to do it because I'll upset Spanish people because I can't do a Spanish accent, which is shocking as a Brit, I'm sure, as you can imagine. So,
sorry to wind the stream back to the second team that we were speaking about, but there's something we've completely forgotten.
Go on then.
Can anyone care to explain how Carlos Sainz kept that car in a straight line and not slatting into the wall on the start-finish line. What the hell? I don't know how many IndyCar viewers there are, but the save that Colton Herta did at Barber a couple of weeks ago, science is trying to rival it now. This has become the year of the save.
That'll go up there as something. You know how we look back at Max's save in Brazil in 2016? We'll look back at that in a few years and be like, we'll talk about his. And everyone will take that and go, oh, he's great in the rain. It's Carlos Sainz. But no, it was because we screamed. We both almost jumped up off the sofa like, ah! And he saved it because it looked like he'd gone straight into the back of Perez. It looked like it was over, and you're like, oh, what a save. So pure skill from Carlos Sainz. And I actually think.
Flow, I just remember.
No, it's all right. But I think, you could put an argument in today where we could call the 2022 Monaco Grand Prix the race where the number 2 schooled the number 1s a little bit. This is how you save it, Charles. Not that Charles ever nearly lost it, but, all right. Verstappen fans and Leclerc fans furious now I've said that one, but there you go. Not much else on Alpine, but I think both of them, some good defensive driving. Ocon a little bit over the line at one point. Let's not talk about over the line. I'll keep an eye out on Twitter. The stewards don't rush these things, and I'd imagine Red Bull have got a portfolio ready to go through. Maybe borrow George Russell to set up a PowerPoint presentation, explain why it's not a penalty and things like that. So, but I'm not going to read it. Chris M4, completely agree. I completely agree. I'm not going to read it, but I do agree with you there. It was just a joke. Don't worry, I'm not being serious on that one. But I mean, good to see the number 2 drivers or the second drivers 1 and 2. It's always nice to see that. It was always nice when Barrichello was allowed to have the odd win in Formula One. So well done to those guys. Yeah, nothing much else on Alpine other than the Fernando Express and Esteban Ocon's defending, and both of them defending well. Alonso picked up the pace at one point and sort of built a gap of, it was 4 seconds in the end. So the pace was there, which is good for Alpine. So Valtteri Bummas, Valtteri Bottas, bare ass. First of all, the key thing today was his incredible meme on Twitter. If you haven't seen it, go and see it. It is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So well done to Valtteri Bottas or Valtteri Bottas' PR team. Not really a lot to say on Bottas, to the point where I have that Bottas started 12th. Because he was another one. There's going to be a few like this today because you've got Bottas was kind of in the mix with that train, and you kind of got Alonso down. It's all just people were stuck in a train, and when you're in a train at Monaco, you're stuck there, aren't you, at the end of the day? So, but it's ninth place. It's more points, as the super chat said earlier. That's more points on the board for Alfa Romeo. It's a couple of points. It's Bottas doing what I think he's done brilliantly all season. Good drive. Zhou. A few more notes on Zhou. Fighting the car who was trying to get past him? Somebody's trying to pass him, and his back, I think it was Gasly, and his back end was all over the place. And he really struggled. I kept saying to you, he's going to win the wall in a minute. He's going to be in the wall in a minute. But also, coming up behind Yuki Tsunoda on the run to the Nouvelle Chicane, lost the car from underneath himself, slid right down by the side of him, almost spinning into him. Button Vettel-esque from Spa a few years ago. Somehow managed to save that and cut the chicane and keep himself going. But that could have been a big accident and another safety car and another red flag and God knows what else.
Yeah, another spectacular save. It was quite a weird one how it snapped from underneath him. Maybe that's something indicative of these cars, because it really looked quite out of place, to be honest. They don't usually snap that way. It snapped just wrong. You expect certain angles and certain directions, and it just looked all over the place. So how he managed to not go straight into the back of Tsunoda, amazing. And I saw a lot of people instantly complaining on Twitter. He gave back a hell of a lot of time to make sure that he hadn't gained any kind of advantage from cutting the chicane. And he did it instantly. It didn't even need telling by the team. That was really, really good sporting and clever driving. If there's any risk of getting slapped with a penalty for something like that, you've got to be aware of it and make sure it's never a risk. He did really, really well on that front.
We keep going backwards, but Carlos Sainz did the same, didn't he? He went straight on at the chicane. Max said over radio he cut the chicane. Carlos Sainz backed off way more than he needed to. He did the right thing there. Just make sure. It's like the yellow flag argument in qualifying and practice. Did you slow down enough? Just make sure you show you've slowed down enough. Mika Hakkinen, here goes Grandad. Mika Hakkinen used to give a wave. And the stewards would be, yep, that's fine. He's acknowledged he's slowing. I don't know what his telemetry said. It might have showed that it didn't slow down at all, but they just assumed he did because a little way from Mika Hakkinen. But there you go. I agree with you. You gotta use your head. That could be, and that's what the stewards this year want them to do, isn't it? With like cutting chicanes and going off track and gaining an advantage. They want people to sort of say, do we need to give that place back and make the decision? So if the drivers are doing that themselves, then it just saves getting the stewards involved, because the less we can get the stewards involved, the better, really, because some of the decisions you get sometimes are questionable. I don't think it was either of those that got the 5-second penalty for leaving the track. I think it was Albon, wasn't it? Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll go back to Albon in a minute. So, but I think a couple of points for Bottas. Good performance for Alfa. Zhou struggled. I think he struggled with the conditions. Rookie, Monaco, wet, changeable conditions, bit of chaos. I'm not trying to defend him, but it's days like today when your experience shines through. As shown by Sergio Perez, top of the timesheets. So I think it's just one of those days. So bit frustrating though, because Zhou started the season so well. I said this last week, and then he kind of fell away a little bit, which was a shame. But yeah.
It's the worst mix for him, really.
Yeah.
It's the worst possible combination for a rookie driver. Let's be honest. The most difficult track in the wet with new cars, and you're a rookie. It's like, you can throw anything else at me. Do you want to black out my visor as well?
Everett in chat saying Zhou has been really unlucky. He's had moments this season, hasn't he, where luck has not gone his way. So, yeah, definitely. Anybody, I don't think anyone has for a while. I saw somebody complain a minute ago about Jonty being a bit quiet. Jonty's just soft spoken. I'm a shouty guy. I'm Crofty, he's Martin Brundle. I shout. We're using the same mic, so unless Jonty swallows the mic, which, if it's all right with you, mate, I'd rather you didn't. It was bloody expensive. We're just sharing a mic today, so. And I must say, while we're at this point, it's still really weird doing it with you here, but it's quite nice. It is quite nice just to be able to look at you and gauge your reaction when you're going, what the fuck are you talking about? Get a genuine reaction from you. Let's roll on then to Sebastian Vettel, 10th place, Aston Martin. Nothing in my notes again. What I will say on Aston, though, Stroll, I don't think he got a penalty for that unsafe release. If you remember. We're going right towards the start of the race. Came in, exit the pits, very nearly collected the Alfa. Whether it's because there was no contact, they let it go. And Stroll did stop, to be fair. Maybe they've let that go, but that was nearly a moment.
Yeah, I think the ruling is the fact that it didn't cause any kind of deviation in direction or change of velocity for the car coming in. So it literally didn't affect the car coming in at all. So there's no reason to cause any penalty. Although, credit to Stroll for spotting it. I'm certain he spotted and stopped it himself, because he was already going. So he could no longer see the lights or any of his crew. We'll probably have to see it again to be sure, but it definitely seemed that way.
Yeah.
What he doesn't get credit for is making his way to the grid.
Is that where he hit the wall? So all I've got in my notes is hit wall, because I didn't see it. So I assume he's just done a stroll and cocked it up and just straight into the wall. But where did he finish? 14th. So not again, 60 seconds off the lead, 3 seconds behind Ricciardo, another one in that kind of train. I mean, I keep saying it, once you're in a train at Monaco. I don't know, Ankit, why Paul di Resta keeps calling him Zoo. It makes me want to throw things at my TV. I mean, Paul di Resta does generally, to be honest. But yeah, it's not Zoo, it's Joe or Joe. I don't know correct pronunciation exactly, but it's around there, definitely. Jonty spotted something funny in chat. Sebastian Vettel. I'm not sure Stroll would want Danny Rick's shoe. Oh, no. No, it's all right. Side to canvas. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, I saw that. Sebastian Vettel, really, his performance today, again, was about experience, getting the car home, but kind of the damage, if you like, for him was done yesterday in qualifying, getting that car into Q3. And it is a bit of a pig of an Aston Martin at the moment. So to do that at Monaco, tapping that experience, I mean, first of all, it is amazing he didn't stuff that in the wall earlier in the weekend. Coming out of the swimming pool for Sebastian Vettel, that was quite a moment. But yeah, just drove with his experience, performed well, did the damage in qualifying, which is what Monaco is. You qualify well on Saturday, you're probably going to get a good result if you keep it out of the wall, and that's what he's done. P10, all right, promoted because of Ocon's penalty, but, you know, Ocon shouldn't have made the move. Vettel didn't get a penalty, so really good stuff from Aston Martin. But I'm intrigued by Aston. I'm wondering if if we might see more in coming races now. They've got the Red Bull-esque package on. The Red Bull-esque package, the Aston Bulletin. Now they can start to really develop that. They might start to move forward. I think they reckon actually they're going to be podium challengers later in the year if they get on top of that car, which is a bold claim. But then, was it Dan in the predictions? Possibly, or it might have even been somebody in chat saying pre-season that Mike Crack and they were targeting top 3. So maybe they still think that's doable, but I'm not entirely sure that's possible. But in terms of the race today, anything you want to say on Aston Martin other than, oh, that looks like a Red Bull? No. John's like, no, not interested in Aston. By the way, as always, if you've got any questions on anything we've missed or anything, we'll do that in Q&A very, very shortly. So there'll be something, but this isn't a review, it's a reaction, so that's fine. Pierre Gasly 11th, Yuki Tsunoda 12th. We talked about Tsunoda kind of just avoiding, or well, he's nothing to avoid, did he? What could he do? But almost getting smashed into the back of. But Tsunoda, a few moments straight on at turn 1. A few drivers doing that. Not really a surprise in a wet Monaco. Pierre Gasly, there was a point, and I will admit with hindsight that I was ambitious. There was a point I said to you, if he keeps his pace up and gets through this field quickly, he might nick a podium here. Now, maybe it was the alcohol from last night still playing an effect. I don't know, but he was quick. He was so quick. And I thought, you clear that traffic, easier said than done. He might pick up some big points today. And as it is, 11th place. So
Gasly was very unlucky.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unreasonable to say that a podium could have been on, because he made the jump to the Inters very early and he made it work better than anyone else with those early jumps. A couple of others, Albon and Latifi, I think, or possibly Tsunoda, jumped really early to the Inters. But Gasly was the one who made it work, and he was taking chunks of time out of everyone. He was the fastest on track by about 5 seconds for several laps. It was really going in his favour. However, the race kind of conspired against him, with drying out so fast, the red flag. He think he got stuck in a bit of a train. So, but that's Monaco. If that exact scenario had played out at any other track, he could have been right up there challenging for at least 5th, possibly a podium, because he was just eating time out of everyone. It was awesome. That's the kind of Gasly we like to see, just stamping all over the midfield like he's been doing pretty much non-stop since going back to the second team. More, please. Just do it somewhere else. Get that. Just as much as he sort of represents AlphaTauri, that's pretty much his team, it feels like. I just wish he could get away from Red Bull. The whole atmosphere, the whole program, it's been bad for Gasly. He needs to leave. I want Gasly at Alpine.
I quite like the idea of Gasly at McLaren alongside Lando Norris now. It's been suggested. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. 2 things on Gasly, which I do need to point out, because we both went, whoa! The move on Zhou up the inside of Mirabeau on lap 12 was a fantastic move, and the one that got you jumping up. Yes, he was on fresher tyres. Yes, he was on the right tyres at the right time, and yes, Ricciardo struggled on his tyres, but to make that move on the exit of Tabac on the approach to the swimming pool, Ricciardo could have turned it at any point, and that was a ballsy move in wet conditions, offline, on an intermediate he's just getting to grips with. Fantastic move, and it made us both hop up and, crap our pants at one stage.
Yeah, I asked it on Twitter and chat, if any of you know, when was the last time you saw anyone in any series make an overtake stick into the swimming pool at Monaco? I genuinely can't remember. You're probably going back to last century. That's just a guess, but it's not an unreasonable guess.
DRD says, never! Yeah, and again, just to clarify, newer tyres, that's a much easier move than if you're both on the same tyres and all that, but it's still a ballsy move, because all it takes is for Ricciardo to think, nobody ever overtakes here. And then that's a big accident, so fantastic from Pierre Gasly. And I think he did, we didn't get a lot of overtaking today, but we saw some, which was really weird for Monaco, and Gasly did at least 2 of them that we saw. And was it Iwasa around the outside of the hairpin in F2? 2 cars at the start, which was very, very nice. Thank you to Emily. Says, hi, Sean. Just popping in from Indy 500 to say hi. Hi, Emily. Hope you're okay. Thank you for your super chat. Massively appreciated. What have you spotted, Jonty, in chat?
Well, I just spotted Emily popping in and saying, oh, finally we get Jonty on again. I'm not just on, I'm here.
Yeah. He's in my room, Emily, which, wow, that was creepier than it needed to be. Jonty has stood right next to me for the first time. Well, not first time, we met at Autosport, didn't we? And you're here for the weekend. I think Tuesday morning you're going home. So here for the weekend for beer and Indy 500 and Monaco. So we thought we'd do the stream from here. So there you go. In the flesh, which is why we're going through the same mic. Emily's mind's going crazy. We should... Oh, Emily, why wasn't I invited? That's so unfair. You're so mean. Definitely.
We'll come to London.
We'll come to London and get only... well, she's getting the beers in, so...
Yeah.
She keeps sending me beer fun for for London. Yes, so where do we go? So we've done Pierre Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda. I've not got much on Tsunoda, but again, just another one that... those straight-ons at Sandoval. Not really much to say on that one, but he drove okay. I like Yuki. I think Yuki's having a really good season, actually. Williams. As ever, they were there. Definitely. Latifi in the wall at the hairpin under the safety car, because Latifi also had a few moments straight on at turn 1. Kind of pretty... disappointing race in some ways, but did finish ahead of Zhou, so he wasn't last, which is a good thing, and Tsunoda as well, so pretty good. He was 28 seconds behind Stroll towards the end, though, so I mean, in Latifi's defence, about all he can do in that Williams is get it to the end. We're kind of in that situation, and that's what he's done again, so I'll give him credit there. Alex Albon, pretty pants day for Alex, to be honest. What we got straight on at Sandoval, it was another one that did that. 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, and then DNF with a mechanical issue. So pretty miserable day for Williams. And I'll do Haas quickly, and then you can have a word on those two as well, Jonty, because I have a feeling you might want to say something on Mick Schumacher. But Kevin Magnussen, unbeknownst to anybody, retired randomly. And I think, was he on the scene when Schumacher had his crash as well? Got to watch that one, or somewhere nearby a screen at least, to see the incident. So he DNF'd. It was a water pressure issue. Or water pressure loss. So that is why Kevin Magnussen retired. And Mick Schumacher, really nasty accident actually. Coming through the swimming pool, car kind of went from underneath him, slid to the inside barrier, smashed into that, straight on into the Tech Pro barrier, car broke in half, which I don't mean this to sound really flippant. I think made the accident look worse than it was. But that's what the car's supposed to do. It's one of the innovations that they brought in after Grosjean's crash, that the car is just supposed to brake. And that's what it did. So that was a good thing that happened. That all worked, but still a big accident for Schumacher and a real rattled moment. But the thing with the Schumacher incident for me, and I'm always going to be moaning about this, is why it took so long to get to the red flag that literally every single armchair expert managed to spot pretty much immediately when the barrier was clearly damaged. There was debris all over the track. They needed to get the car lifted up. A car that had its rear end off. So, that car up on a crane, something falls out. Big accident, someone's going to get hurt potentially. Why was that not just red flagged immediately? We had at least 2 laps under virtual safety car, at least another 2 or 3 under the full safety car, and then they went, we'll red flag it, but we're red flagging it for clouds over the hill, but not for damaged barriers. I mean, that's what I mean by frustration today.
Yeah, I mean, Magnussen could see, because Magnussen had already retired, and he was actually in the pit lane, and with it being higher, you can actually see down to a lot of the swimming pool section. So he was looking, he was like, what the fuck? The crash for Schumacher, you're quite right. They've always been designed to break in half, but they have made it a little bit more easy just to try and eliminate some of the issues that happened in Grosjean's crash. But the crash isn't really the issue, although it did look very strange. I mean, seeing the shot of it head on, it actually looked as if the left rear suspension had gone, or he'd had a puncture with the way the car sort of sat down and snapped across. It was very strange, but then there wasn't one. However, it's not the crash that's the problem. Jesus Christ. How hard is it? I mean, come on, chat. You should be... If you're given that situation just as a still image, not live feed video, you're not there, you just, here's a photograph, what's your reaction? And you can see a car that's literally in 2 pieces. There's debris strewn all across the track. There's a barrier that's completely destroyed and obviously needs replacing. In what universe is that not instantly a red flag? I mean, come on. Anyone can spot that. Anyone with absolutely no knowledge and experience of watching motorsport, you just tell them that this is what can happen when there's a crash. There are all the various options. Which one do you think is going to be the most applicable here? And they will all say a red flag to stop it. It's insane. Especially on top of all the mess we had at the start. I expected more from Freitas. He's always been pretty good in WEC. And it's annoying. It should be me. I know I say it quite flippantly on Twitter and what have you, but all of these mistakes they're making, I've called long before it happens. I know half a dozen people that say, hang on, that's stupid, you should do this. And then that's what they do 10 minutes later when it's already too late and has wasted half the race and ruined someone else's race. It's just insane.
Yeah, just checking up there on the Red Bull thing. But yeah, I think if fans can call it from their sofas, why the FIA not call it? Because it was inevitable it was going to a red flag because the Tech Pro was a mess, and you know, one marshal or whatever can't just pull all that barrier there. It's heavy. It's there for a reason. They've got to get things involved. So I just don't really get why that didn't go straight to red. But I don't really get anything with the FIA anymore. But I think the key thing, really, the thing I should have said immediately was the most important thing is that Mick was okay. Yeah. Which was great. And you say about Kevin Magnussen, I watched that, and I know he didn't because it's not K-Mag style, but it just looked like he'd gone, "What are you doing, mate? Yeah. Why are you crashing?" But yeah, no, I think it just feels, because you've lost 3 laps on the safety car or whatever, and 2 under, let's say 5 laps you've lost there of the race, having already lost laps because of the mess about at the start. If a red flag is quite clearly going to need to be thrown, then just throw it. Just throw it. It's just the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, and on having chat does make a valid point that they were worried about not getting enough laps for full points. But you also got to consider, because of the much, much slower pace when it was really wet, a time-gated race was already a possible risk. So if that's what they're worrying about, they need to stop it straight away so they're not wasting even more time under a VSC and a safety car. Because we had 2 laps under VSC and at least 4 laps under a full safety car. So that's, if they just throw the red straight away, you're talking a good 15 minutes of time saved by it being straight away red, off you go, fix the barriers, clear the stuff, and then get going again, as opposed to, you know, slowly clearing and repairing stuff because the marshals having to keep jump out the way, or at least turning around and looking what's going on every 5 seconds because there's a car coming past them. It's just easier.
Yeah, and Squeaky Bunny says the race was already time limited, so losing the laps wasn't an issue. Yeah. So that was also, I said to you, a ticking clock is much more tense than a lap counter. So if they want to keep that in, that's fine. But no, the other thing as well is I take the point, but also what's the point in having stuff in the regulations for 75%, 50%, 25% if you're not going to use it? So, you know, if we didn't get to the time or the laps required, then it's a 75%, or if it's less than that, it's 50. So that's just the way it's, you know, it's part of the rules. So if you don't, I totally take the point, and we all want full points where we can, but then there's no point having the regulation if you're not then gonna, if you're gonna go, well, we won't do this because we might not get the laps in for full points or whatever. So we'll then take the regulation out. If you're always gonna try and force full points, then don't have the regulation there. So thin them out a bit is what I'm asking for, because they're one hell of a book to read.
Yeah, although to be honest, that new regulation on the points is stupid.
I had a feeling you might hate it.
I do hate it because you got 10 people get points, all right? But then if the race is shorter, all of a sudden only 9 people get them. Mm. And if it's even shorter than that, only 6 people get them.
Doing the same work.
Yeah, they're still in the race. They still got to that position. It's absolutely stupid. You know, go with the 25, 50, 75. That's fine, but make sure all 10 get it. And I don't care if it makes the record books awkward, because the record books are already awkward. We have drivers in the past whose points tally is sort of like 9.127 or something ridiculous because of sharing cars and this, that, and half-distance races. That's fine. I'm quite happy with a driver ending up with .3333333. It's interesting.
But it's all right. But also record books and stats. Like, I love a stat, but ultimately, who really cares? You know, the drivers care about their records, but I say the drivers care about their records, but you know, Fernando Alonso still bangs on about his wins, and it should be one less. So, driver of the day, let me know one surname in chat. Sergio Perez got the official driver of the day. I think I see where this is going, but let me know your driver. I'll read as many out as I possibly can. Jonty, who have you gone for your driver of the day? He's now looking at me like, crap, I forgot about this. You put me right on the spot.
I know it might sound like the boring answer, and it's the point you always come back to, but the driver of the day for me is the driver of the day.
Well, that's
according to the rules, according to the results, Perez. He did everything he needed to, very, very well. He made apart from one scary moment with a bird, he didn't make any mistakes, and he pushed hard when he needed to get that win. He did everything right, and no one should take anything from him, including the FIA, because I don't think he crossed the line. They're just thinking he might have, but I'm sure he didn't. Verstappen did.
Well, so you know I don't cheating. I wrote Per there as my driver of the day. Mm-hmm. So he was my driver of the day, so I'm not just trying to steal your answer to get out of giving an answer. But if I need a second pick, Russell maybe, but I mean, with respect to him, did he do much? Really? But then does he need to do much? Is that the maximum the car can give him at the minute? You know, he's still quite a relatively inexperienced driver compared to some of those around him, and he beat, you know, Alonso, Hamilton and co. So I think he deserves definitely a mention. I think Norris as well for that final run. But again, aside from that, did he do much? So it's why I keep saying I go to Perez, because strategy was on point. His laps around the strategy were on point. He managed the pace at the end really well to keep them behind, because Sainz could have sent out the inside. There were a couple where I thought Sainz should have sent it up the inside, actually. But Sainz probably thinking, I just need some bloody points. It's been so disappointing so far. Leave me alone. Yeah, it's got to be Perez. I can't really think of anybody else in there, you know, because Alonso down, it's just a DRS train. So you catch that DRS train, there's not really anything you can do. So I say DRS train, any train. So I thought there's not really much you can do. So I think it is sort of Perez, Russell, Norris. You could say Verstappen for some maturity, but we've seen better from Verstappen as well. I'll say Perez, but I'll give second place to Russell and Norris. They can share that second spot.
Yeah, I would take Alonso out of the equation. Yeah, because
literally,
admittedly, he can drive whatever speed he wants, and he doesn't need to push, because when you are pushing, keeping high pace, that's when mistakes happen. That's when the car gets pushed too hard. You know, he did exactly what he needed to, but by slowing so much with the penalty, he's put Ocon out the points.
Yeah. No, that's a fact. Yeah.
I'd say the other fair shout for driver of the day would be Gasly, because he was kicking ass, driving so quick, really making massive moves, and then he got caught up in all of the train. And there's not really a lot he could do about that, which is a real big shame.
No, I think that's fair. I could let you do this for a change, actually, but I won't. I'll go for it. So who got the first one in, do we reckon? I think Squidgy Pixel, by the looks of it. It says Gasly. Perez for not a pirate. Oh, I like pirates. Adam Osborne, Gasly. Alonso driver of the day, Pog. Says Wingcap. Gasly for Cravone. Perez for James. 321 go fast says Gasly. Wacko-san says Norris. Ajinkya. Checo. Clay says Alonso. Still love your name, Clay. Warden, Norris. We'll do that in a bit. Perez for who's else to say? Loads for actually. Do you know what? Your Gasly shout's not bad according to this chat at all. So Dory says Perez. Extreme BHP says Checo, and then you've got Julie, Brad. We'll not read that one. Can't read your name. I'm so sorry. Mean Mr. Mustard has said Gasly as well. So there's loads of them saying Gasly there. Not a pirate who said Checo. We've got the winner says Norris, which was an interesting one. I think that's fair. Random Boss Man says Perez, Checo and Gasly for Niels or Niles. Ankit says, Charles, what else could he have done? That's fair. Yeah. Maybe not driver of the day for me, but he's got a great point in the what else could he have done. Yeah. Not really anything. He was fairly in control, wasn't he, really? Findlay says Russell. TFFW says Alonso. Extreme Gaming says Norris. Kalian says Norris as well. Perpetual Richard says Alonso or Checo. Sighted Canvas says birthday boy burnt. Fair enough. PMF Perez. Pascal says Perez, Valtteri and Vettel. Valtteri and Vettel. I like that. Gasly again for Nick. So lots of Gasly love in there. BC Gamer says Checo. Halo Gamer says Alonso. Johnny Herbert for Weatherdon. Brad says Gasly. I think I've read that one already. Marie Hove says Norris, driver of the day. Emily's gone with Gasly as well. Finlay says Russell. I think I read that one as well. Gasly for Chris. Norris for Musso. Another Chris Fallon says Checo. And anybody in there that's a bit different? We've got a few Alonsos in there for his defensive driving. Mostly Perez, Norris and Gasly. Do you know, actually, I'm quite surprised. Not a lot of love in there for Russell, but I wonder if that does come down to, as I said, whilst he came fifth, which is about all he could do in that car, what did he actually do? But then if we're saying about Charles Leclerc, what more could he have done? What more could Russell have done today? So, yeah, it's for me with Russell, it's the fact he kept himself just about in contention if something happened, if that makes sense. It was just there.
Yeah, although, got to be honest, with both the Mercedes drivers, so far this entire season, they could both be in contention for driver of the day just for keeping the damn thing on the black stuff. Because they are horrible to drive. I mean, did you watch the practice sessions?
Yeah.
On Friday? My God, it was like driving a kangaroo that's drunk. I mean, it was horrible. They were jumping around all over the place. So, yeah, both Russell and Hamilton get mentions for driver of the day of every race until that car behaves.
Fair enough. Thank you, Stefan, for your super chats. Russell is doing amazing, but as a Red Bull fan, I'm looking forward to him having a good car. Thank you very much, Stefan. We got a little glimpse, didn't we, last week of what could be between Russell and Verstappen and co, so that could be fun. Thank you very much for your super chats. Thank you very much for your comments as well. If you've got any questions, we'll answer a few for you. You can pop them in chat. Would be massively appreciated. If there's anything we've missed that you want us to go over or you want to tell us off for missing, feel free. We'll answer some questions as well. Don't forget, we need to get to 500 likes if we can. 331 so far, just over 1,000 people watching, so please do drop a like, always appreciated. We need to get to 500 for Charles Edward Cheese, the man himself. So yes, thank you very much, Charles. Thank you to all your super chats, actually. Did we get any questions from super chats we wanted to have a pop at, actually? So we talked a little bit about Perez's contract potentially confirmed. I think I said at the time, I mean, it's the right choice, I think, at the moment, to keep Perez in that car 100%. I hope he doesn't do like we've seen Bottas before. Signs a contract and then's like, yes, just fuck all else for the rest of the year. Excuse my language. And there was one other, actually, about Daniel Ricciardo from DRD Nobody, saying about maybe Gasly going to McLaren because it's just not really working for Danny Rick. I like Danny Rick, we all do. It's just not happening. If McLaren are serious, they go for a proven F1 driver with a point to prove, like Pierre Gasly. Do you fancy Gasly at McLaren next year? You said Alpine for Gasly. So not McLaren alongside Norris? That could be a lot of fun. Or as I said to you downstairs, the redemption team, Williams, Albon and Gasly.
You see, it's quite clear that McLaren's being built as Lando's team. That's really obvious. Anyone can see that. The thing with Alpine, I think they're in a bit of a limbo without a driver to build around. They've got Alonso in for the experience he's got, for how well he works with the team, the knowledge he can bring in developing the car. And Ocon, he's been around long enough. I mean, similar time to Gasly, but I don't see him as any kind of leader. I really don't. I don't see him as the kind of driver that any team would want to build around. There are other options for Alpine coming up. I mean, PP, Piastri and Pocher. You know, they're both really big options. But Gasly's there now, and he's got the F1 experience. I think what would be great is they have someone like Gasly as the leader for the team, and then they can bring Piastri in as the new guy with them.
When Ocon's contract's up. Maybe.
Yeah. Because as good as Ocon is, and I really like Ocon, I don't think he can outperform Gasly in an equal car at all.
Yeah, but at the moment he's outperforming Alonso in an equal car. To be fair, I know Alonso's had some moments this season that maybe not his fault, but I think Gasly leads AlphaTauri quite nicely. But then is that a team that you lead anyway? Because you don't build anything at AlphaTauri because you are just there to keep bringing the Red Bull drivers through, aren't you? So is that experience sort of count to anybody? Because is he really leading? Because it's just you're here until we get the next two through, which I imagine will be Vips and Lawson. Maybe Deruvula could be an option.
Yeah, they're all people in the Red Bull stable. I mean, Christ, they've got so many in F2 and F3 at the moment. It's ridiculous. And the other thing is, I really want Gasly out of the Red Bull stable. It's been so bad for him. He's doing great at Alpha. I think I did. I'm repeating myself. I said this earlier in the stream, didn't I? Or did I say it to you downstairs? I can't remember. But yeah, he needs to get away from Red Bull so that he can focus on his career without Darth Marco hanging over him.
In his lair in Spielberg with the inflatable dinosaur or whatever it is. Here's one for you then. To kind of go from what not Punky Pig at all, Purple Zebra said. Just have Ocon and Gasly. What about Gasly and Ocon at Alpine, all French team, and Piastri at Williams, away from the limelight, bit like Russell, cut his teeth, learn his trade, whatever phrase you want to use, 2 or 3 years at Williams, and then when Ocon's contract's up, or if Gasly decides to move on somewhere else, you bring up Alpine with 3 years or 2 years experience in F1.
Yeah.
I like drivers starting at the back. I like that. It's a good way to go. It's a good way to go, but Darth Marco. That'll be brilliant. Let's have a look at some of your questions then. Thank you very much to Lyle. It says, great win for Perez, but we'll be pissed if penalised. I'll keep an eye on that one. If we get anything before the end of the stream, which won't be that long away to be fair, but if we get anything... Want to watch Indy? I will let you know if we hear anything. If not, then keep an eye on Twitter, definitely. The new cars bouncing is more difficult on the old drivers. Weaker spines, says Patrick Jenkins. It's an interesting theory.
Not really.
But
no, not really, because the driver complaining about the most pain from it has been Russell.
It's been Russell, yeah. Maybe the taller the driver.
Yeah. Because
Russell's a tall lad, isn't he, really? Did you guys talk about Max crossing the pit lane? That's from Shanery.
Waiting on details.
Yeah, waiting on details, basically. If you are just tuning in, Ferrari have protested because they believe there's a clear breach of the regulations. In fact, if you give me a second, I'll pull up the quote from him directly. But there is a question mark over it. They're not very happy, Ferrari. They think there's been a clear breach of the regulations. So Mattia Binotto said, as Ferrari, we are disappointed because we think there was clear breach of regulations on the 2 Red Bulls for going on the yellow line, exiting the pit lane. Keyword there, on. I think it was not close. He was on the line. And if you look at the sporting code, the wording does say crossing. Then we had a clarification at Turkey in 2020 to avoid any discussion. And if you look at the race director's notes, it says staying to the right. So staying on the line is a breach of the race director's notes. I think that each single team has the task to follow the race director's notes. It is clear, and we will be seeking clarification with the FIA to translate protest.
So is it on or over or any or all?
Well, we've already had Schrodinger's race today, so we might as well have Schrodinger's white line or yellow line, hadn't we? Yeah, so Mattia Binotto saying you have to stay to the left of the line, which would mean that any contact with the line, in theory, is a breach. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It is a protest. We working on the lowest penalty of a 5-second penalty for both drivers. We think that would give Ferrari a 1-2 finish because Leclerc was only 2.9 off the lead in 4th and would drop Perez to 3rd and Verstappen to 4th place. But of course, in that situation, then even if Ferrari were to win that protest, you've then got Red Bull protesting that protest. So it could go on a little while and then we end up in all sorts of messes, don't we, in Formula One. Thank you to Tristan, a big Ferrari fan here. I'm really disappointed by Ferrari's strategy that cost Leclerc the race victory. Difficult, is it? I mean, it's difficult conditions, difficult to make the call, but it's not the first time we've seen this. Is it really with Ferrari? I think that's fair to say.
Not at all. I mean, I genuinely feel so sorry for Ferrari fans. Like I said at the start of the stream, they've got the car, they've got the drivers, they've got the speed. It's all there, and they keep dropping the ball. You know, as much as they want, they've got their plans, they've got their strategies. They want to run their own race. You can't just blindly run your own race and ignore what other teams are doing, because every time we see someone do that, they get caught out. We've seen Mercedes do it, we've seen Red Bull do it, and we've seen Ferrari do it too much. I mean, a few times last year we saw Mercedes do it to Red Bull, and Red Bull did it to Mercedes, where you got Lewis doing the chase down and passing Max with a couple of laps to go, and vice versa. You know, Ferrari needs to have someone that's looking at how strategies have played out in the past and learn, hang on, yeah, we really do have to pay attention to what others are doing. We can't just run our own race. Because if you do, you will lose.
Sighted Canvas says rugby rules on the line is over, which is that seems fair to me. The Lone Koala says the process of Perez's win has been dismissed by the steward. So I'll have a look in a moment. I've not seen anything confirmed on that one. We'll do that one in a second. And Gracie Feeds says, where is it? As a Ferrari fan, it pains me to admit that this is just their way of trying to cover up their own mistake with strategy. For me, it doesn't warrant a protest. So that's from a Ferrari fan. So thank you very much. Two Left Feet says, Carlos win due to a penalty. We shall find out soon. Ferrari seems to not understand that other teams are doing things to gain an advantage and not just for the heck of it, says Raul. Thank you very much, mate. And not even an investigation for Max. What were the race officials even thinking this time? Were they drunk? Says Zynos. Yeah. Even if it's on the line, it's quite surprising it wasn't even noted, was it? Because Perez's was noted, and Perez's wasn't investigated, but I don't think Verstappen was even noted, was it? It was shown with replays of it enough.
I can't remember. I thought I saw one coming up saying car 1.
Maybe then, yeah. Maybe, yeah. I'm not sure, really. Post-race penalty, if any, for Max is unfair, says to Weberis. If it is released in the race, the driver can recover.
Not really, because you have to consider that even now, all of these results are still provisional until all scrutineering is carried out and finalised and signed off, which won't be till, midday tomorrow? Something ridiculous like that. You know, which is a bit... It's always a bad thing. This is something I really don't like. I wish they could just do it all at the same time. Or even scrutiny of the cars before the race. And as long as they've got someone watching the pit stop so they're not doing anything sly, then as soon as the checkered flag drops, that's the result regardless. But that would be quite a difficult challenge, unfortunately.
Just checking the FIA website. There's nothing here to say that it's been denied on Sergio Perez. I'll give it another refresh.
Oh, scrutineering's already up. That was quick.
So race scrutineering is up, just gone up, but still, both drivers are still summoned to the stewards. They are summoned at 19:15 local time, which is 18:15. So we should hear soon, or we should have heard by now. But there is. I can promise you now, there is absolutely nothing in the FIA feed that suggests that has been thrown away yet. I will keep an eye on it. There might be stuff on Twitter, but unless it comes from a proper reputable source, I won't confirm it, because a lot of stuff gets said on Twitter. So I'm not dismissing those that are saying that it's been thrown out, but I'm just telling you the official line is that nothing's been thrown out just yet. Will Ricciardo leave before the end of the season, says Michael Vartman. I think that if he doesn't pick up, McLaren will be considering options. I don't think he'll go before the end of the season. You'll see the year out. But I can see him, because there was some talk about an in-season driver swap, and that became an end-of-season driver swap, and then that kind of disappeared. So I don't know. We will have to keep an eye on that one. I think Ricciardo might. I hope he comes good. I really hope he comes good, Daniel Ricciardo. But at the same time, if it's not working at McLaren for him, is it good for him and the team if they go their separate ways and he can go somewhere else and kind of start again, and they could bring somebody in to help them in some way, like a refresh, basically, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Although, I mean, it'd be good if you could just settle and stick around until we get these alleged extra teams. I mean, in a perfect world, Andretti gets allowed in, and then we've got Audi and Porsche turning up. Audi and Porsche?
Yes.
Turning up for 3 more teams. Then he's got somewhere to go. as well as lots of places for the younger drivers. I mean, I know that's pie in the sky thinking, and we will never ever get 3 more teams now, but we could get 2 at least, or maybe a team like Andretti would want someone with a lot of experience to come in as well as their American youngster, because as much as experience as the legend Mario Andretti has got in Formula One, none of it's really relevant. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair. But sometimes a break when it's not working for driver and team is good for both. And I think maybe that's where we're at with Danny Ric. But I said to you, he seems to have inherited Fernando Alonso's jinx of just moving to the wrong team at the wrong time or it not working. So I don't know. I think there's space somewhere for Danny Ric on the grid as it is. But if you've got another 2 teams coming in as well, then, or even 3 potentially, not likely, but it would be there'll be somewhere for him, absolutely. So, what about Logan Sargent? Says Squidgy Pixel. Yeah, he's all right. He's doing well. I think Vips, Porsche, Sargent. There's a lot actually. I mean, you've been impressed with Drugovich lately. Really impressed with him.
Well, someone did ask in the chat. I'm sorry if I can't find it, but someone did ask, "What do you think of Drugovich being picked up? Is he on any team's radar?" And we were actually talking about this whilst watching the F2 today. This morning, it's like, it's really strange because he's just come so good. He's been absolutely dominant. You know, a double win is quite unheard of in this era of Formula 2 with these cars. So how he's not already snapped up and being pushed is beyond me. And he's one of those drivers, I've been watching him for a while, and he's kind of counterintuitive. He gets better and he gets faster the faster the car is. You know, he's in... Was it Marihove? Yeah. He's just... You know, in F3, he was all right, but he didn't really compete all that much. But he was faster than the series he was in before. I can't remember which regional it was. It might have been F4. And then he's come into F2, and he's even faster than he was in F3. You know, if you look at the progression of that, he's going to be incredible in Formula One. And yet, he's not been snapped up by any team. Whereas there are other drivers who are clearly not as good that have. And it's annoying. Most of them by Red Bull. What the hell is going on with Red Bull in their driver program? We've complained that they haven't got any in the past. It's like, who do you get to fill the seat if such and such goes? And now they're falling over him. Iwasa. Is Vip still Red Bull?
Yeah.
Lawson. And I can't even think off the top of my head. Daruvala. All quality drivers who could slot into an AlphaTauri seat.
I agree. Just to confirm as well, thank you to Carola, for saying in chat, yes, that there's some people saying on Twitter, Ferrari News in particular, saying that Perez, the protest has been thrown out. He is the race winner. The official FIA website says nothing on Perez, but that wouldn't surprise me because we saw nothing of Checo's incident. We saw a lot of Max's incident. Checo's was noted in the race and then dismissed. So the stewards have already looked at it. So that's a good point. But then whereas Verstappen's wasn't looked at in the race. So that's maybe, and it may well be that Verstappen gets the same treatment. So nothing on Verstappen at all. Some people on Twitter saying that Perez is still the race winner. It's been thrown out, but nothing official on the FIA feed. And I've got it open in front of me. So if it does update before we go, which will be in a few minutes now, not long, we will. I'll give you a quick update. So a couple of quick questions then. See what we have got in chat, and then we'll be wrapping up for today. Any real chance for De Vries, says Wing? I think his best shot is Williams. Really, he's had a FP1 session. He might get another one later in the year. Some talk of that. Latifi's been diplomatic, not great, honest, absolute crap at times this season, which is annoying because I thought Latifi was sort of starting to come on a little bit last year. Yeah. So getting close to Russell. Whether Russell had sort of checked out a little bit because he knew he was leaving, I don't know. But I thought Latifi was improving a little bit last year. So this year it's really surprising to see him struggle against Albon, who's had a year out and hopped in that car and is pretty much destroying him. So probably De Vries, most likely Williams. But then, Formula E, where does he go? That Mercedes are gone, aren't they, at the end of the year? So
Yeah, but in the past, there's rumours going around about Vettel leaving at the end of the year, and in the past you could have said maybe Mercedes could have bargained to get him slotted into that seat with the whole engine supply deal. But now, with all the Stroll money, they don't really need to think about any kind of deal like that. Get money knocked off engines or anything of that nature because they don't need to, which kind of limits the possibilities for these other Mercedes drivers, which is a shame for Nick de Vries. He deserved a shot. Yes, I will happily admit that the year he became F2 champion, it was a much weaker field than it was when Russell, Leclerc, whoever won. But he still won. He still beat people who are also on the F1 grid right now.
Yeah. Yeah, but performances in junior categories, as we know, they don't they don't always convert to F1 stuff. I'm fine. Dutch TV caught a conversation. Yes, we did talk about that one actually. Everton Gaming. Apparently Checo said I signed my contract too early, and that was picked up. As I said a couple of times, it's a no-brainer to keep Checo in that car. He's doing the job this season. He's just won the Monaco Grand Prix with a really good drive. Did I say 4 podiums in the last 5 races? Yeah. Now, and even then Miami was 4th place. And it was only a few seconds off that. So he's doing the job for Red Bull. Crazy to replace him, and I won't be at all surprised. Plus, great time. Get that contract sorted. Max Verstappen's in forever. He's got in his office, he's got that thing on The Simpsons. Remember, you're here forever. That's what it's like for Verstappen in his office. But yeah, I think it just makes sense for Checo to stay and get that sorted, get it all wrapped up. No speculation, focus on the title.
Yeah, and it's great for us because if it is true that Checo has got his contract all done, signed and sealed, it means that now he's free to be going, oh, what? You want me to move over? Oh, sorry, I haven't got any negotiations to worry about. Yeah. My race.
That's a good point. Yes. Yes, I like that. Screw you. Thank you to Tristan. Says, but congrats to Red Bull anyway for the win. Just really disappointed by what happened, but all good. Thank you very much, Tristan, for your second super chat today. So thank you very much for that really one.
Nice Ferrari.
A nice Ferrari fan. Ferrari fans are great. How dare you?
A lot of them.
Do you know how we know Ferrari fans are great? Because we're all Ferrari fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see. Seb's right. He's absolutely right. Thank you to, I don't know, just changing my name as well with the super chat. Just about to wrap up. So thank you very much, mate. Says, love the streams and love bantering with you, Jonty, on Twitter during races. Is it the same Twitter handle as your username on here? Quick questions. Does F1 need a permanent review board to analyse steward mistakes? Aren't being punished at all, like what was the delayed start? I mean, look, they need an independent review board because, everything, let's not get into it too much, but everything over the winter was very much the FIA marking their own homework, and the FIA were never going to find the FIA guilty on anything. So, there needs to be at least an independent review board to look at the FIA. But maybe, very quickly, if those rumours are true about F1 wanting to get the FIA out or on a bit more on the sideline, then maybe that could be part of it, a negotiation. Well, all right, you can stay, but we want an independent review board to take that one on. So that's an option. And I did just see, thank you very much again for that super chat. I did just see very quickly to wrap up before, and we are going to go straight after this. Adam Osborne, this one's for you, Jonty, because I'll be doing it in my preview. Your bold prediction for Baku, one bold prediction for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
One bold prediction for Azerbaijan. Someone has a structural failure because of the cars, because of the regulations. I don't know who. It could be. I'll just leave it as anyone, but someone will have a structural suspension failure, similar to Kimi's famous one.
There you go. A dramatic one. But yes, we will wrap it up there because we're going to go crack some beers and watch the Indy 500 that we've got recording as we speak. So I've been trying to avoid spoilers. So thank you in chat for those that have been dealing with people. Definitely. So apparently there's a power cut just for the start. Yeah, we talked about that one a little bit earlier, mate. So thank you very much just for pointing that one out. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there. What day are we on?
Sunday.
Oh my God, just watched the Grand Prix and I just asked what day it is. So yes, Sunday. So thank you very much, everybody. It's weird because I've not said goodbye to you first. So I've thrown myself off. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for your super chats as well. Don't forget to drop a like. We're 96 away from 500. So 1,000 of you still here. Smash that like button as the kids would say.
Yeah.
Hit it hard. Really give it a whack and it'll work. I promise you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks for your super chats and all your engagement in chat as well. I will be back late. I've got a very busy start of the week. Some I can't tell you about, and tomorrow we're upgrading PC, so that could be a busy start of the week. So probably not until Saturday before there'll be a video out. I might do a garage gossip because I've not done one for about a year and a half, so I might do a garage gossip on Saturday to talk about some of the stuff we've covered today. Other than that, then we're building up to Baku, of course, preview and the race reaction as always for that one. You can follow me on social media as well. All the links you need for that are in the description down below, and if you're after some money off your NordVPN, head on over to my preview, give that a click, link in there for I think it's about 60% off a plan, so give that a look. I don't have to do that in this one, but I'll plug it anyway. Thank you very much, Jonty. It's been absolutely weird doing this to the face, but it's been good fun. I have been Sean. This has been the F1 word. I'm going to go, but I'm going to let Jonty sign out and put him right on the spot.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It has been really very weird and very different, but very, very good. So I think you should all be hitting the likes just because we're actually here together in the same room doing this that we've been doing for 5 years.
And I've only got 2 black eyes.
That wasn't me. That was someone else. Blame the cat. You've just broken my flow now and completely distracted me. But yes, he's been Sean and I've been Jonty, and this is the F1 word, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.